Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here. Appreciate you joining me, if you will, today. I'd appreciate it if you would like, share, comment on the post, and then we will jump back into the book of Acts. Acts chapter 18, verse 5 today, about 5 and 6 actually. Says, when Silas and Timothy arrived from Macedonia, Paul was occupied with the word, testifying to the Jews that Christ was Jesus. And when they opposed and reviled him, he shook out his garment and said to them, your blood be on your own heads. I am innocent. From now on, I will go to the Gentiles. This is a pretty straightforward passage of what took place here. Paul, I love that phrase that he was occupied with the word. In other words, he was able to devote himself full-time, completely to preaching the gospel, to teaching the word of God. And we also see what his message was, that Jesus was the Christ. And so he was preaching and teaching the Messiah, that Jesus was the Messiah. And we then read that because of that message, the Jews opposed him, and what it amounts to is that when it says they opposed and reviled him, they didn't just reject Paul, but they actually were blaspheming the name of Christ. They rejected it, and they spoke. They didn't just reject it. They spoke outwardly about Christ. They spoke negatively, again, blaspheming Christ. It wasn't just that when Paul preached they didn't go, but when Paul preached they ridiculed and spoke badly of him and of Christ. And because of that, Paul, he shakes out his garments, or kicks the dust off his shoes, or whatever other phrase you might want to use, and said, fine, if that's the way you want it, then you're going to have to answer for your own for your decisions, but I'm going to go somewhere where people will listen. I'm going to go somewhere where they want to hear the gospel. And Paul's doing two things there. One, he is declaring his innocence. I did, what I was called to do, and he's not putting. Some may read that and think, well, Paul was putting a curse on him. No, Paul was just stating the fact. I have done what I was sent here to do. I preach the gospel. Now you've made your choice, and you're responsible for whatever results may come from your decisions. Again, he's not putting a curse of some kind on him. He's just stating the truth. As a fellow I used to work with used to say, you bought your ticket, take your ride. Paul's, again, he's not wishing anything on them. He's not putting it on them. It's like saying to a school teacher, you gave me a bad grade. Teacher says, I didn't give you the bad grade, you earned it. And Paul didn't condemn these people. He didn't send them to hell. Their choices, their actions were going to be what sent them to hell. And so as we consider these two verses, there's quite a few lessons actually here that we could look at. One of them, I'm fascinated by that phrase that says that Paul was occupied with the word. Fascinated with the word is one that comes to my mind. That he was just consumed with preaching the word. And I wonder in our world today how many believers we could say that about, that they're actually occupied with the word. But the main lesson that I want us to see, and again, this lesson is going to fall on two sides of the fence here. One of them is, if you are a believer, if you are a follower of Jesus Christ, you should be like Paul in doing all that you can, proclaiming the gospel, and so that your hands are innocent. that nobody can at some point stand up. Can you imagine? And this is again just a fictional, making up words here while I'm making up stories, fictional story, but that imagine someday someone being cast into hell and looking at you and saying, "Why didn't you tell me?" We want to make sure that we do everything we can as believers to share the gospel with our lost loved ones. But should you be listening to me today and watching, and you don't know Christ, again, I'm telling you today that you need to know Christ. You need to accept Him as your Lord and Savior. And if you don't, the consequences are not something that I have put on you, or not something I wished on you, but something that you have chosen for yourself. You have chosen to reject the gospel. You have chosen to be separated from God. Not that, again, nothing that myself or any other preacher or teacher or someone's put on you. We all make our own decision about what we will do with Jesus Christ. And so I want to leave you with that question today. What have you done with Christ? Are you occupied with the Word? Are you telling people about Jesus so that others can hear? And again, if you don't know Him today, what will you do with Him? What will you do with Jesus Christ? Will you accept Him, or will you continue to reject Him? And if you do reject Him, as Paul said, your blood is on your hands. I am innocent. Have a great day. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.